Welcome to Knife Thoughts. This video is going to be on these knives, and these are the RoseCraft Blades Mill Creek Cotton Sampler, specifically the black sandalwood version and the red sandalwood version. And these are a relatively new pattern from RoseCraft Blades, and so I want to say thank you to Andy for sending these knives along for me to check out. This pattern, the Cotton Sampler, is kind of an interesting, different pattern that I think has kind of a vague history. I have done some videos on other cotton sampler knives before and an article on the cotton sampler pattern, but I actually don't have any other true cotton samplers to show you and compare to right now because it's kind of a weird knife. So let me show you the one that I have carried and used. So you can see it's got this really interesting blade shape. So it's almost kind of like a spade blade with a really abrupt cutoff, but it's, longer, it's wider. And really the most unique thing is this flat area here. And so what I am told, the thing that has been, what I've read online and seen people say online, is that the cotton sampler blade was made so that you could cut into a bale of cotton, pull out a sample, so use this nice wide blade here to cut in and kind of turn it, pull out a sample, and then you could use this flat area to pull that sample and check the quality of the cotton. Now, I have never been in a scenario where I was purchasing a raw bale of cotton. I don't think that I've ever even held a raw piece of cotton. So it's not something that I'm familiar with, but that is what I have read the purpose of this blade shape is. Now, I'll say that it has some use beyond that use, some more practical uses for today's world, I would say. So this type of really tall, wide blade works really well for spreading peanut butter and things like that. So, for example, I recently found out that Costco has a peanut butter that is just peanuts, which it's kind of tough to find peanut butter doesn't have a whole bunch of other stuff in it, and something I've been looking for. So that was an exciting find, not really super relevant. But anyway, I have been using peanut butter and giving peanut butter to my son more recently. And this type of blade shape, this nice, tall, wide blade, is great for spreading peanut butter or regular butter or whatever. So that's a good use for it. It also just, is going to cut well because it has a nice tall grind. So it comes down to a nice thin edge and is going to cut well because of that. And then as for this area, you can also use it as a finger choil. So, you can kind of choke up on the blade. Now, I will say that the kick kind of digs into my finger when I do that. It's not the most comfortable finger choil out there. It's, it's not quite like the 50-50 finger choils on a Spyderco or something like that, but it can be used for that. So there is, at least a practical reason to have that you can think of for today's world. Now, like I said, I don't really have any other cotton samplers to compare these knives to for you, but the closest thing I have is these cotton Barlows that Cooper Cutlery recently made on the Shatton Morgan brand, and you can see a similar shape. Now, these don't have that flat area for, testing the cotton or whatever, but you can see that they have a very similar shape, and this is kind of the most common blade shape for a cotton sampler, although older, like vintage cotton samplers did also have other blade shapes. Some had straight edge blades and things like that. But anyway, this is the typical blade shape for a cotton sampler. Now, as usual, RoseCraft Blades does a great job. Whoever makes these knives does a great job making them. This one, again, is the one that I carried around and used some, and you can see that there are no gaps. It is very, very nicely put together on the back spring. Again, these, as usual, have a stop pin, so you don't have to worry about blade wrap. It doesn't have the snappiest action to close. It will snap, but I think it's just because it's, kind of a big blade, but it certainly snaps closed. It's just not it takes a while to get there, basically, but no issue at all with the action. It's nice action. And as usual, it's pretty much a 5. So it's right right kind of where you want it to be with the pull strength. Another thing, I like how deep this sits in the frame. You can see that that tip is well down in there, so if you were to use and sharpen this knife a lot, you have a lot of blade before the edge comes above the blade well, and it's nicely centered also. So very well made, nice transitions between the bolsters and covers, the pins, all nice, no issues there. I'll show you this red sandalwood version, which has really nice grain. I like the look of this black sandalwood better, but as usual, RoseCraft blades gets really nice handle materials, cover materials, so you can see well done on this one also. No gaps at all, just really nicely made. Same deal, nicely centered, about a 5 pull. I didn't carry and use this one, and this one maybe honestly snaps closed just a little bit more, but very similar. So really well made. And then one other thing is that this has a new shield for RoseCraft blades. So this is what they're calling the Rose Bomb Shield. So it's similar to a traditional bomb shield, if you have seen those. GEC uses them and other companies have, but this is their version, the Rose Bomb Shield. So an interesting knife with an interesting history that, you know, maybe not inherently the most applicable to today's typical uses, but certainly, you know, a very full of history pattern and something that's interesting, different, and very well made as usual. So as usual, I really appreciate getting to check these knives from RoseCraft blades out. If you decide to pick one up, make sure you get it at Traditional Pocket Knives in the link in the description. I have a discount code, or you can get it from RoseCraft blades directly. Also, if you enjoy this type of video, make sure you subscribe to my channel, click the bell, and select all so you know when I post new videos. I have more RoseCraft videos on the way, and check out my website, maybe, knifethoughts.com, where I have the article on the cotton sampler pattern, and subscribe to the email newsletter there. And last but not least, as always, don't forget to go out and do good.